Hey everybody, Bob again. Uh, trying to record a tutorial on how I create these ships um, from a 3D model in Space Engineers. I found a method that I really like to do that involves um, SC Toolbox and Paint Gun, and I'm going to demonstrate that for you today. This is kind of like a cooking show. I've got some of this already done, so this video should be a lot shorter than the first couple times I tried to make this. All right, first of all, these two mods are the only ones you need. TextHUD API is a requirement for Paint Gun, and we're using Paint Gun because it can spray around corners and it will only paint the exterior layer of blocks. So, with those two mods, create yourself an empty world where it's just you in the spacesuit. That way everything will load a little bit faster. Excuse me. And of course, make sure that it's set to creative. Open that guy up in SE Toolbox. Click Import 3D Model. Go and find your model. I'm doing this NCOT ship. I've got some internals that I need to fit in the back here. It's got this nice boxy back. I need this to be 21 blocks tall. So you see there's the model imported there, and it came in correctly as far as up and down. That's good. Left and right are good. Front and back are backwards, but that won't matter for our purposes here. So the up and down is the depth. I need the depth to be 21. It's currently 13, but we're also looking at small ship. Don't forget, it loves to import as small ship, so change that to large ship. Now, depth is 13. We can change this with the multiply and futz around with it, or we can just go to max length. Max length of 100 blocks is a depth of 21. It just magically works out that way. I lied to you. I actually need a depth of 19, which is a max length of 88. And I just got there by playing with it. 87 is 18. 88 is 19. So that's the max length that I need to do. I'm going to bring this in facing me and right next to me. You can change this distance. If you do multiple imports of models, you might do one at 10, one at 100, one at 300, and make sure that they're all well spaced apart. And you can choose thin shell with smoothing or thick shell with added smoothing. It doesn't make a lot of difference in the smoothing, but I'm going to do thick and I'm going to fill it. I'm going to do this because sometimes 3D models have what you might call sprue in them or supports that I don't need. I want a completely empty hollow eggshell of this shape that I can then fill with the components that I desire, and then I can go back and fill the model or fill the actual ship with structural supports of different materials and those kinds of things. So I'm going to say fill thick shell with smoothing. If I wanted to make it in heavy right now, I could, but you can also convert it later, so that's relatively irrelevant. For my purposes, I'm doing light armor. So I'm going to do create. And Viola. There's a ship. Hit save. Go back to Space Engineers and load. If I were already in the game, I could do F5 and do a quick load. This world will load relatively quickly simply because there's nothing in it. Very, very tiny file and just the two mods. When we get into the game, first thing we're going to do is take a look at the left and right halves of the ship. They will be different because they just are. Whoops. My ships collided, but they're okay. I missed a spot. Well, good. I'm glad that this game demonstrated that's getting ahead of us. Here's the model as it imported. We can come over to it and sort of look at the structure. See, the left of this side is not the same as the right. Just kind of pick the half that you want. Also, it always brings it in as an even number of blocks. You may like that. I don't. I want my number of blocks to be odd. So for this particular import, I'm going to split the model right here. It's moving, so I'm just going to cut and paste it so that it will stop moving for a second. The other one is probably moving as well, but I'll go catch it later. So then I sort of build a little support off of here so that I can be sure and be above the whole model. Control Shift and right click allows me to draw a long line, and I would just want to cut all the way through the thing. There's a maximum number of blocks you can cut, so it gets a little wonky, but we can do this in a couple of cuts. There's one, and then starting the next cut right here. Coming all the way back. Whoa. I think it's still moving. That sim speed pause means that you have successfully cut it in half, and then we're just going to trash the half we didn't like. Hold still. Then we're going to clean this model up. The ship that we imported had a lot more definition inside here. If we go back to looking at that design, if we look at the neck, see we had these sort of cool open spaces there. This is Space Engineers, so we're limited in our block selection, but just in general, you know, this is not as beautiful as the model was, so we can kind of come in and clean this out. We're doing this at a half at a time because we're going to mirror it here in a minute, and why do things twice? You know, clean this model up as you see fit, and then get your paint gun out and start painting it. You don't want to paint the inside, you just want to paint the outside. So if I come through here and I do all this painting like so, and paint the entire thing. Go around the outside, make sure that everything looks the way you want it to look, and get the outside edge painted. Again, be careful not to paint where you cut it, because all of these white blocks are going to go away. And this is how we will get our, what I call an eggshell of a ship. This takes a while, right? So fast forward, I did this already to this half of the ship over here. And you can see, in a little bit more pronounced way, all of that is going to be empty space, okay? Well, how is that going to be empty space, you might ask? Let me get rid of my extra thing here. So after we get it all painted, I'll go position myself here so you can see. Go ahead and save that. It's still moving. Everything's moving. Hold on. Go cut and paste. Alright, now it's stationary. Save that again. It says it's saved. It saves and loads so fast because it's just so tiny. So we're going to reload this. Yoink. And you see I have I've got one large grid that's 3 by 3 by 1. That's just junk. We'll get rid of that. Here's the grid. See, we've got cubes of different colors. If we sort by color, we've got a whole bunch of black ones and a whole bunch of gray ones. Well, we don't need any of these gray blocks. So we scroll and scroll and scroll for more than half the ship. And it's not going to be any of the corners or slopes. All that stuff's on the outside. Theoretically, you may have missed something, and you know you'll wind up tweaking the appearance of your ship as you go forward anyway. So this is kind of a broad brush, but it's okay. I'm gonna actually find the break in the color and hold shift to collect them that way. In here somewhere. All right, there. So we go here, hold shift, all the way up to the top. Selecting all those blocks and delete them. It takes a second while it sort of recalculates the geometry every time you do this. Now I would also go ahead and mirror the ship now, but we are doing it in phases, so we'll show you what it looks like after it's done deleting all these blocks. A little green progress bar down the bottom left. It's going to take just a minute, so bear with me. Rather than have to cut and edit the video, we'll just fill this time here. So what I've started doing lately is working on internals first and putting a shell of a ship around it. I'm doing this for defensive reasons. The server that I'm on uses explosive torpedoes, and those torpedoes damage blocks within radius. So I want none of my important internal components to be near the edge. That means that I've got all these internals and they're kind of clustered together. And then I'm building hulls to go around these internals that give me plenty of space. Now you can fill the space with blocks if you want to, and there's some advantages to that. But for the torpedo point of view, at a minimum, you don't have to do that. Functionally, empty space works just as well soaking up splash damage as armor blocks do, and if you don't have weight there, that's less mass to turn around. These are big ships, so we're talking about needing either expensive gyros or a lot of gyros or both already. And, you know, it's all about what you're trying to do. If you have to soak enemy fire without any defensive shields, there's not a lot of armor in the world that you're going to be glad to have. Not even the best stuff will last very long. So it kind of becomes one of those games of how do I design the best I can get for the lowest level of investment. That way, if I do lose, I didn't lose as much as I could have. We're almost loaded there. Again, that green bar on the bottom left is what we're waiting on. And it's just a lot of blocks to delete. It's got to kind of go back through and recalculate the ship design every time it does. And then we could also export the blueprint, use a blueprint editor to do this. It just depends. This method is what we use to import the model, so we may as well use it to delete those blocks. And again, I just sorted by color, selected all the ones that I hadn't painted, because those are presumably on the inside of the ship, and I'm deleting them. Now, there could be circumstances here where I am deleting some kind of support structure block, and this thing is going to fall apart. We're going to check for that here in a second. If you mirror the ship, that's usually less likely, but we're skipping that step. Like I said, normally I would mirror before doing the quick load, because I've done this enough that I know what it looks like in there, but I'm going to quick load now to show you guys what this is going to look like on the inside. Again, should load fast because there's hardly anything in the world. And there, all the gray is gone. I've got an empty shell of a ship. Everywhere that the paint gun couldn't reach just got deleted. Oh, and you see I missed a block or two there. Easy fix. Right, close that back up. Even all the way out here into the nacelles on the side. Right, those are all hollowed out as well. Significantly cut down the weight, and I still have some ablative protection for the internals, which are going to go here in this great big cavity. Now, if you haven't already done so, you need to set your parallel plane here. So turn that on with M or N, and we use M to choose it right there. This is where I want that to be. See, now I got some mirroring going on. Save it again. Reload it here. And then in SE Toolbox, I can do mirror using predefined symmetry planes. Now, if you haven't predefined them, you can do the find largest surface thing, but it's just better to predefine the plane. You're going to want it when you're doing your creative build later anyway, so you get your connectors and all that sort of stuff in symmetrical places. So we did that and we saved. Again, like normally I would, if I had set that symmetry plane, which obviously I forgot to do, but I would normally do all of that in one step, right? Go set the symmetry plane, get the painting done, then delete the interior blocks that I don't want, and follow that up with a quick mirror. And there you go. We've got a solid ship. Hollow on the inside. The nice beams in there, and I might do some more cutting later. But yeah, so we say, okay, well, how do we get in? Probably need a door right about here, so boom. Go ahead and put a door in there, and yeah. Got a few empty spots here. Let me get my light turned on so we can see daylight, so that's no good. Go ahead and close, whoops. Need to do that. Go ahead and close those up. These were just spots either I didn't paint or maybe I got a little overzealous. One thing you can do to test and make sure that you don't have too many of those holes is a quick pressurization test. So throw some doors on here. I may as well do this like I'm going to keep it. I like to do these sliding door airlocks. I just like the way they look. Alright. And I need power so I can close my doors. Here, close. Get some oxygen. And an air vent, and let's just see. Nope, it's not yet closed. So we can go chase down some holes. Looks like I've got another one here. And I saw some daylight peeping through from back here. It may have just been a reflection. With the build info mod, you can search a little more thoroughly as well. Wasn't it? So I don't have that mod loaded. But anyway, you go through and finish your hull. And the end of it all, you've got a nice ship. And you don't have to leave this paint color, obviously. You can, like any good Klingon ship, grab yourself a green and some sci-fi. Put it to the color you actually want. Anyway, that's how I do it. Let me know if you have any questions or if I can help. Oh, look at there. Remember, I said earlier that you might wind up with parts that got disconnected because there are no connecting tissue blocks in them. Painting is a real quick way to demonstrate that. So yeah, this nacelle is not any longer connected to the ship. So the way we would fix that is go through here and create some connection points. Cut this. Paste it out to the side. We obviously need a little more connectivity here, so do this. And then I can grab that. I can't see. And stick it back on. Something like that. Anyway, that's the general process. Let me know if you have any questions.